I mean, I gotta say, like, after the Olympics was over, and obviously Daryl Moore was there at the Olympics, but when this was going on, and I saw, PHLY podcast, our friends over there, Bodner and all those guys, talking about Guerschon Yabusele coming over to Philadelphia, and I just thought that was like something that, one of those speculative reports, like, oh, they should go look at him. We need a four. He looked good during the Olympics, and it come to fruition. This week, earlier on this week, Yabusele's coming over to America again. He won another shot in NBA, and it looks like he's getting that. He's getting that with the Sixers. So, Teja, obviously, the whole big thing this offseason was, great offseason, but who's going to be our four? Who's going to be our backup four? And there's some people were speculating that Yabusele could be the starting four. I know we picked up Kelly Oubre towards the end of last season or last offseason. No, and everyone was like, no way this guy's going to start. We just picked him up in August. He's not going to start. And there's a chance that Yabusele could start depending on how, different lineups and different matchups work. But what are your thoughts on this? And do you think there's a potential of Yabusele starting in this on the Sixers squad?
Yeah. I think we definitely got a backup four. I think we got a spot starter at 4. I think rebounding's still a concern, even with him. I still have concerns about that. I mean, I think he had like 2 against us in the gold medal game, so it's not like he was dominating us. And Embiid wasn't dominating rebounds at all either. So 2 of the guys that should have been rebounding more in that game are probably our main rebounders outside of Drummond. So that rebounding is still a major concern. But good for him. It's awesome that, with the elevated, everyone's been talking about the elevated competition in the Olympics, and he shined on the greatest stage, right? Against the best of the best. It's not like the days anymore where you dominate, a Serbia, then everyone's like, okay, he dominated Serbia, big deal. I mean, you're dominating NBA players no matter who you play in international play now, right? So you're always playing against guys that you're playing against in the regular season. So it is a fair comp. And it's not like they're playing in, in a park somewhere. Like, this is for the gold. This is for international reputation and recognition. So doing well there, I think, speaks volumes. It's like a real all-star game. It's like everything that people want the all-star game to be is Olympic play. That's what it is, right? It's the best of the best who aren't thinking about injuries and avoiding like that kind of stuff, and they're just there to win and play and compete. Guys are crying their eyes after losing these games. Like, they want it. So it's like the all-star game mixed with like the finals, if you think about it. And he did really well. I mean, he had 22 against Canada, 17 against Germany, 20 against us. He looked like he wanted it out there. And Morey probably saw that LeBron dunk, and he was like, get his agent on the phone. I think a lot of people said that. I think a lot of fans said that. I looked at the threads of the main Sixers sign Yabusele, and everyone's like, damn, come on. Like, we should have got him. I mean, everyone, it's always nice to go through the threads and see that kind of stuff when other fans want a guy that you got. It's like, it's nice, right? We tend to ignore the other times where guys are like, good luck. But when they like it, we like it even more. But as far as him, big body, a bruiser, jump, obviously. He's got some defensive versatility. He slammed, what's his name? I totally forgot. That clip where he slammed the Exum. He slammed Exum. You've seen that? You saw that play, right?
Yeah.
He body slammed him. So he's got a mean streak to him. We need dogs. We did lose one of them, 2 of them in the past 2 years. His shots improved since he left the NBA. I think his minutes kind of maybe depend on how well his shot can translate. In international competition, he shot in the high 30s. Those numbers went down, I think, around 30 in France. But he shot, I think, 40% in Madrid for Madrid last year. It's a shorter 3-point line from what I've heard. He shot 50, 40, 90 in qualifying matches, shot 80% from free throws in France. I mean, scoring almost 20 a game for them. So he should be in the NBA. Like, he should be playing decent minutes in the NBA. That's no questions about that. I think he can be a corner 3 guy until he expands his range even more, at least, right? But it's a very low risk, mid-high reward, right? We didn't spend a lot of money. For him, it was a pretty easy decision, right? He's capitalizing off of this. He had to get out of the Madrid contract, but at the same time, it's easy for him. Like, yeah, he could have waited a year, but maybe it cools a little more. Maybe he doesn't go to the best team possible. He comes to a pretty good situation. You don't have, you're looking at a competing roster that doesn't have a true power forward. I mean, people still say we don't have a true power forward. So he's going to get minutes at 4, whether it's because we play against a bigger team or whether it's because someone's injured, or we just feel like he might be a better fit with some guys. He's going to get rotation minutes right away. He's going to play major minutes when one of the 3 of George, Oubre, or Martin are out, and he's going to play against bigger lineups. So it's really smart for him, and I think he's going to play. I think he's going to play a lot. I think he's going to be a key member for us.
Yeah, I was reading some fans, I guess Boston Celtics fans, they wanted him back, which was interesting. I saw there's a lot of fans online saying like they wanted to throw their hat in the ring. Because I mean, like, look, for him, and there was other teams interested, as was reported, but to come to Philadelphia, right? Like, he could go to Charlotte. I mean, we saw what Kelly Oubre did with Charlotte, averaging 20 points a game. He could have gone to a team like that and, to sign a 1-year deal, a minimum,
Sure.
gone elsewhere, dominate. But instead, he's going to a team, which right now they're saying Caleb Martin's a starting 4. He's kind of betting on himself in a way where he thinks he could come to Philadelphia and carve out a niche there. And I'll say this maybe too. Nico Batum, while he went back to LA, I think Nico Batum may have had a hand in this. I don't know. I'm just saying. I mean, he played on the French team with him. Nico had a good time in Philadelphia, although he didn't want to come back to Philadelphia and going back to LA. He probably said it's a good spot for you to go. I have to imagine there was some kind of endorsement there from the fellow Frenchman. That's just me speculating. But yeah, looking at his numbers, when he was in the NBA many moons ago with Boston, what was the 2017? Let me see. It was the 2017, 2018, and 2018, 2019 seasons. Mm-hmm. Only started 4 games for Boston in 2017, 2018. He was a first-round pick, 16th overall by Boston. He shot around cumulative over those 2-year spans. He shot around 32% from the 3. You mentioned 40. He was shooting about 41% in Euro ball. Euro ball is more like what we saw during the Olympics. That's a shorter 3-point line. So if he can kind of move back a little bit, take the jumpers a little bit beyond where he was shooting that, I think we got a steal here. And I would say more like, I could see him being more of like a PJ Tucker kind of role for us, being a guy who kind of like just go to the corner and knock down some shots. And if you look at his highlight reel when he was in Boston, there was a lot of that. Yeah, he shot 32%, but there was a lot of like driving and kicking, finding him on the corner and knocking down the tray ball. I watched a lot of his NBA highlights just to see what he looked like in that end. But if he could kind of take what he took from years past in the NBA and bring in what he brought in the Olympics and what he's been doing in Euro, you got yourself a solid 4, a gritty kind of guy. Rebounds, I'd like to go up a little bit. But one thing that was promising, if you look at his Olympic stats, the one game, so Canada, he had 5 boards. Germany, he had 7 boards against. If you look at those 2 games, both those teams, Germany and Canada outside the U.S., and France, probably one of the more NBA laden squads. Both squads had a lot of NBA players on it. You had Germany had Tice. Canada, you're going against a Linux, the Dwight, the Pals of the world. So I mean, like, there's some NBA bigs on those teams. It may not be the best, but 7 boards against Germany, 5 boards against Canada. Brooks, yeah. So I mean, there's guys on those teams that they had a battle against. But yeah, at this point, talking August 23rd, I think Yabusele is going to give us kind of Kelly Oubre kind of impact for us. A guy that, some people may not look like, oh man, he's the 15th man or the 14th man. Like right now, it may look like, late signing, but I think he's going to have a big, he's going to get a lot of minutes. I think he's going to be in the rotation big time. Might even start depending on how the lineup looks with Caleb Martin at the 4. Maybe they move Oubre to the bench. They move Yabusele into the 4, and then you have Caleb Martin at the 2, and then you have George at the 3, Yabusele at 4, Embiid at 5 with Maxey at 1. I could definitely see lineups like that. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. I'll also say this too. And we talked about this, just you and I, a few weeks back, if the Olympics took place before free agency started, you'd see a lot of like different things happening. I think he would have gotten a better contract if this was way before the Olympics. Some team would have gave him some of that money left over somewhere else. I mean, we say that, but guys like Gary Trent also got like the min, right? So, and like forced to take way less than they're worth. A lot of guys were, but maybe he would have gotten more. It's certainly a bargain for him at this point. I think he can definitely provide that. I think he's and he did this against really good squads, against all again. I reiterate, against guys he's going to be playing against all year. So he was the second best player on the silver medal team behind Wemby. Probably, yeah.
Yeah, probably. I would say so. Yeah.
So, like, just at face value, he's the second best player on the silver medal team. I mean, that's pretty good. The second best player on most of these teams are legit NBA players.
Yeah.
I mean,
and this is a team that had a lot of NBA players on it.
Yeah. Yes, yeah. I know. So if you think about that across the board for every single team, take their second best player. I mean, the guy who's supposed to be their second best player is getting paid like $50 million a year, who sat on the bench for the last 3 games.
Yeah.
So he's a huge reason they got to that game. Period. If not for him, they wouldn't have gotten there.
Oh yeah, no, he was a guy that popped off. And you were watching France, like, who's that guy? That guy's pretty good.
Yeah, I think he popped off for everybody.
Yeah, and I'm looking at an article. I pulled up the quote, but Jake Fisher was talking about Yabusele. He said at the beginning of the Olympics, people were talking about NBA evaluators that he was talking to. At the beginning of the Olympics, people were like, Grant Williams is way better than that guy. But by the gold medal game, a lot of people, some NBA talent evaluators were saying that they take him over Grant Williams right now, which is pretty fascinating when you consider the fact that he just signed for the $2.1 million vet minimum with Philly. So
some guys wanted us to get Grant Williams, so we just got him for $2 million.
Yeah.
You can't argue with that. I mean, forget about even the player and what he could do. It's for $2 million. So it's not like he didn't break the bank on him. So even if he doesn't perform like we want him to at this point, like, I mean, it's not a disappointment as far as what we shelled out.
Yeah. No, it's a great get at this point in time. And it makes me believe the fact that Morey was there. Did Morey already know about Yabusele? He was there. We had this vacancy at the power forward position. We didn't go for any of the other guys, the precious to choose of the world. We waited. Was it? I mean, was
he
this?
Did say too, we're looking at guys that no one's talking about when they asked about that last roster spot.
Interesting.
Or the last roster spot, the last available roster spot, not the last roster spot, because he's saving that for a rainy day.
Yeah. No, I love it. And he provided juice for France, and hopefully he provides some juice for us. Yeah, and I'm curious to see if he kind of, we talk about his rebounding being lacking a little bit. If he could just provide that kind of energy and, get us to the timely boards, not so much being a rebounder, but being more of like the timely board kind of guy. Kind of like what we saw New York do to us. There's guys who don't rebound necessarily, but they're getting timely rebounds.
And I'll say for him too, he's the kind of guy I don't see myself questioning his effort for a loose ball or for a rebound. Like in that game where there were guys, those balls were just coming off the boards and like guys were just watching it and like waiting for Embiid to get to it. And he was exhausted with one knee. And like you had guys like Tobias not running for those and certain guys just not crashing. And all the New York guys were every single time. I don't think you'll have to worry about that with him. That's one thing they're like, maybe his boards didn't translate in Olympic play, but he's crashing the boards on a night-to-night basis. He knows what he has to do to get more playing time.
Yeah. Yeah, and quite frankly, I've read he could be a small ball 5 in some ways if we want to go with that sometimes when
a little Ben Wallace.
Yeah, have some fun with that, and yeah, I can see that the headband really does that.
Headband and fro, yeah.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'm excited. A+ move yet again. This is highlights all the Daryl Morey doubters, and I gotta admit there was one point in the beginning before the offseason began when there was like, oh, Paul George is not coming to Philadelphia. I was like, man, Morey, what was this cap space playing all about if we're not going to get the guys we need to get? So, he came out and got that. So
it worked out.
A+ from start to the finish with this Yabusele pickup right here.